Hey guys, Postron here, and today let's talk about my Poisonous Concoction Pathfinder. This build basically started when I tried it out during leveling, realized it's actually broken, and just never looked back and stuck with it. Poisonous Concoction is a unarmed skill that basically throws your life flask at enemies, depleting charges from them for every attack you do. You can scale it with greater multiple projectiles and greater volley, and all the projectiles you fire can shotgun with enough AoE. There are quite a few different concoction builds running around right now, some revolving around Ghost Dance, some are occultist, but this version here wants to opt for armor rather than evasion, since with how I feel like the league mechanic will scale into late game, you'll actually want to be able to tank a hit here or there, and supplementing that playstyle with Molten Shell will allow you to do so. Since it's still only 30 hours into the league and I'm currently only at 10 watchstones, this is still an ongoing project, but for anyone interested in what might be the new forbidden rights of this league, here it is. Alright, so this is supposed to be kind of a diary-esque video. This is not the full build guide. I still don't really know what I'm doing, to be completely honest. I just want to share this with people because I think this skill is actually absolutely crazy. Now, to say that leveling with the skill was a delight would be an understatement. I've never leveled like this before, ever, at League Start, and I usually plan them out, so I don't know what happened with the balancing of this, but basically, when you put it on for the first time, level 12, and you equip it with lesser multiple projectiles. Just to point this out, I didn't even have a free link at that point. I only had lesser multiple projectiles plus this skill. You will literally just melt everything. This build is absolutely great for leveling. You will love it, and yeah, let's get a little bit into the playstyle. Poisonous Concoction is basically a unarmed attack, as you can see here. You can still run a shield, but you cannot have a offhand weapon, so you can neither have any weapons whatsoever. But basically, this is a projectile AoE attack, and as you can see here, let's just remove greater multiple projectiles and greater volley here for a second. Normally, you would have one projectile here, and as you can see, if you can put in GMP, they kind of spread out like this, and if you put in greater volley, they kind of overlap a lot more. But if you put in both, you can basically have 9 projectiles, and they get the upside from greater volley, and they still kind of fall together in a line, making it crazy against single targets and still really, really good against packs. Now, the most important thing to note about this skill is that the last 2 lines of it, and that is consumes 2 charges from 1 life flask if possible, and added chaos damage equal to 9% of flask recover amount if charges were consumed. Now, what that means is that whenever I throw a flask here, you can see maybe if I cost more, you can see it going down. You can't really see it going down because we're Pathfinder, but I guess if we would cast forever, it would at some point reach 0. But there's no threat to that, because at 0, all that happens is that you will lose around 40% of your damage, which is obviously bad, but it just never happens. Right now, I'm running 2 life flasks because my life flasks suck, and I don't have all my flask recovery yet. But in the end, I don't think you'll need more than 1 flask. Also, just to point this out, this flask can get up to 5,222 recovery instead of 3,600, giving us a lot more damage. So right now, I don't even have glass blowers bubbles on them. We're running around with very mediocre gear. Just to point that out, that's kind of one of the reasons we're Pathfinder. After Explosive Concoction was an absolute disaster last league and nobody really wanted to touch it, it kind of feels like with this skill they overcompensated for that. I don't know what they were thinking, but in terms of clunkiness, it feels a lot better. It feels a lot more instant than anything else. If things are running at you, it still feels like they can run under it, right? But if you have enough projectile speed, like this is just with 20% projectile speed. And something I want to talk about is also a reason why I'm going so tanky, and that has to do with playstyle, because this skill is not really meant to be ranged. If it's ranged, as you can see here, it kind of has a delay, and as you know, the mobs can actually run through it. But if you're playing it more as a melee build like this, I mean, I will show you a map in a second, but it actually works fantastically. You just have to build a little bit more defenses, because things can actually hit you if you are near them. Now, let's get into a map so I can show you what I mean. I'm currently in, like, I don't know, tier 8 to tier 10, so let's do this one right here. Now, obviously, I haven't done Cyrus yet. I will update this as soon as I have basically a good foundation to make a guide. I'll release it, but as you can see here, this basically just absolutely melts everything. Let's pick that up later. I'm actually very currency starved right now, so yeah. But let's waltz through it here. And as you can see here, I'm kind of playing it as sort of a melee build. Not really. It basically just alleviates all the pain that you have with Concoction, which is like needing to get projectile speed, all of that stuff. You also have phasing on kills, so as long as you have phasing, you're going to be just fine. I'm currently not immune to Corrupted Blood, so that's why you see my HP trickling down. Let's do the boss real quick here. One of the tankier bosses, but not against us. It will get absolutely melted. And yeah, that basically is what it happens. I'm sure you also saw the Conqueror kill in the intro, which, yeah, I'm not really used to straight up playing a League starter like this. Usually it takes a little bit of gear at least, but this didn't at all. Like, I haven't, like, as you can see here, all my gear is basically defensive, other than maybe the gloves. They have a little bit of poison duration, but that's literally it. Now let's finish up the map. But I think you get the gist. This skill feels a lot better than you would think it does, because obviously everybody was a little bit disgusted by Explosive Concoction last league. Just wanted you to show that, and let's move on. Now, talking about the passive tree, we're a Pathfinder. It's really, really good. You get Poison Prolif, which is huge. Now, usually Poison Prolif is pretty bad, but if you think about how this skill works, you're actually not attacking that fast, and while you're overlapping a lot, you do have quite big poisons. And the thing about Poison Prolif is it only prolifs the biggest of your poisons. So for something that has a lot of small hits, not that good. For something that hits hard, pretty good. So that really helps with clear. It also gives you more damage, and the AoE from here is just absolutely staggering. Like, once you get the Helm Enchant going, which you don't have yet, once you have a Dying Sun, this will pop off pretty hard. Now, you get some more movement speed as well, so you don't miss Raider, right? And you get Nature's Boon, which flasks gain free charges every 3 seconds. I mean, we know what a superstar this is. It helps extreme, like, it's basically means that you will never run out of life flasks. Now, while leveling, you will probably want a 3rd life flask. I will say this, because you can actually run out, just as a caster would run out of mana, right? It can happen, but just portal in back again. I would definitely run 3 life flasks. I think my setup was mana flask, 3 life flasks, and a Quicksilver. So maybe I should also maybe roll this one. But yeah, that's basically why we went with Pathfinder. Now, Nugian, another content creator right now, is actually going for a version with Ghost Dance, which I find very interesting. I just want to point that out. His build looks very solid. But we went for something different, because the way I feel this league mechanic is going to go in late game is that you're actually going to get hit here or there, and that every single hit is going to be hard. So what we're going to do is we're going to instead opt for Iron Reflexes and block, maybe even with Versatile Combatant, and we also go for 100% Spell Suppression. Basically, instead of an evasion playstyle where you just don't get hit and then you get hit once very hard, you just negate all the damage you take. And even later, we probably want to go for Divine Flesh and stack Chaos Resistance, so we also eliminate everything that does Chaos or Elemental damage. But more on that later once we actually have the currency to do that. I will include a end game POV right now. Everything's up for debate right now, though. I don't really know where this is going. Once I have the real build guide out, we can talk about that. So far, I gotta say, Iron Reflexes has extremely surprised me. The way armor scales now, it's actually insane. Like, we don't even have an Iron Flask now, or right now, or a Jade Flask. All we have right now is like 10k armor, which is not much. We're running a Tabula, right? Like, we have a little bit of evasion here or there, but not much, as you can see, at all. And we can tank most physical hits. It's actually ridiculous. So I don't know if I'm going to go back to evasion. Right now, I'm really, really hyped by this. And also, the way shields now work, it's a lot easier to get block. Now, this is obviously only 35 chance to block, but once we have around 40 to 41% chance to block, we will be able to actually cap our block, and then maybe even think about Versatile Combatant. Although I'm not sure yet if 75% block is better or 50-50. We'll see about that. But yeah, right now I'm really feeling this. And if we go for that, we also can support that with spell suppression, which means that we take 50% less damage from spells. Overall, I just want to kind of go for damage reduction instead of just avoidance, right? That's basically what I want to do here. But everything's up for debate right now. As for auras, right now we're running Herald of Agony, Determination, Precision, and Defiance banner, although definitely check out if Grace might actually be better, since we are right now Iron Reflexes. Sometimes Grace is better, sometimes Determination is better. In the end game, we would obviously want to run both, but we might need a level 3 Enlighten for that, and that's a little bit down the road. Now let's go with the passive tree real quick. I made some level 8 trees so you guys can level it as well. But I basically made a cluster jewel version, which is the one I just ran into. I like I said, I crafted these myself. And I also have a no cluster jewel. Basically just replaced this with the shadow area, which is also very juicy. It's actually not even that big of a deal. Maybe I shouldn't even have invested in it, to be fair, thoroughly. But I made some leveling trees, yeah. Definitely look at those. We can look for them real quick. So basically we started at level 18, right? The number one thing you want to get is this poison mastery here. It is bonkers, beyond belief. Poisons you inflict on non-poisoned enemies deal 300% increased damage. That means that the way you're mapping, or the way you're progressing through acts, I should say, is basically you throw once and go. So that's only going to be one poison, or maybe two if they overlap. So that will always get the 300% increased damage. I mean, at like level 12, you can get it. It's absolutely busted. Get this immediately and just, yeah, waltz through maps, right? And then we stop here, we go through here. Obviously, Swift Venoms is the next thing we want to take. And let's look at how that would look at level 33. Basically, now we took Swift Venoms. Prioritize the chance to poison. Obviously, the skill has innately 40% chance to poison. Then you get 15% from here. You get a little bit more from here. And then the rest you get up here. Obviously, also Herald of Agony. So you can look at it, right? You can look on the character sheet if you're capped. Now, also, you will need some accuracy at that point. If you do not, you can also right up go into the shadow area right here, or you can immediately grab Graceful Assault for that onslaught and onslaught effect on kill, which is obviously huge. So let's look at that real quick at level 55. First thing you want to do, Graceful Assault, as soon as you can, basically. Other than that, we went through the whole shadow area up there. And yeah, down here to Dirty Technique because it's a lot of damage. Now, obviously, it's a lot of trouble, but we're already kind of preparing for the next step, which is going to be Iron Reflexes. So let's look at level 68. At this point, we're in Iron Reflexes. We took Golem's Blood, makes playing a lot nicer with the regen. Also, we just filled out the masteries as we go, right? We do like, I don't know, like faster poison, poison duration. Like, obviously, the flat life is very huge. We take that very early for crazy increase. Also the 2% life while moving, very cute. All of that good jazz. And yeah, that's basically it. Now, one of the biggest advantages of running armor is being able to utilize Molten Shell. Now, if you've never played with Molten Shell before, because it's maybe not a softcore standard, right? Most people haven't ever played with armor. But since the rework and armor actually being good, this skill is nuts. Basically, we don't have increased duration right now, so it only lasts for 3.5 seconds. I still gotta fix my colors. But basically what happens is whenever you press it, you're kind of invulnerable for 4 seconds. And I say that because you have a big damage shield around you that soaks up everything. Now, right now, this is kind of low because it isn't leveled all that much, but it gets bigger and bigger and it scales off of your armor. So that's why you want to have a lot of armor as well. And it just adds on top of everything. And whereas armor kind of has the downside of being bad against elemental damage, this still soaks up elemental damage as well, kind of negating that downside as well. And this is just, ever since I added this to my build, also Val Molten Shell. I don't even want to talk about Val Molten Shell right now because it's even crazier. But yeah, all you have to know is that sometimes you can press this oh shit button and you're literally invulnerable. So yeah, overall, there's still a lot to discuss here between armor and evasion. I think both builds look fantastic right now, and we're going to figure it out once everybody has their endgame gear. But yeah, this is what I'm going to leave you with. But that's it for the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribed. Now, as always, a huge thank you to my Twitch subscribers and my Patreons. I couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much for the support. And yeah, I love the skill. Actually, it feels extremely good. I was very skeptical after Explosive Concoction last league. I thought this would kind of be a stepping stone towards something else. But yeah, happened to be just kind of OP. And I hope this holds up in rep maps. That's also why I don't want to do a build guide yet. I simply don't know, but I don't see why not. And that's also why I'm kind of thinking about building a lot of defense, because obviously when you have broken skills, like for example Toxic Rain, people are talking about champion Toxic Rain. The only reason you can do that is because you have so much damage that you need to almost scale no damage and still be fine, and you can go for full defenses. Maybe you can do that on the skill too. We'll find out together. And yeah, with that being said, since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.